several impressive models during the late 1920s, such as the Mercedes-Benz Type 630 and models S, SS, and SSK. One of their best and brightest engineers who helped develop these vehicles was Ferdinand Porsche, whose name would later become quite famous in the car industry. As for Karl, he remained on the Daimler-Benz board of directors and was able to see the success of his automobiles and marvel at just how far the auto industry had come in his lifetime. Karl Benz passed away just a few short years after the company's merger in April 1929 at the age of 84. After his death, the company continued to grow in size and strength, becoming one of the best performance car makers in the world. But it enjoyed some of its best years under the unlikely leadership of Adolf Hitler. When Hitler rose to power in Germany in 1933, he wanted to showcase German engineering and technology to the world, hoping to elevate his political standpoint above those of his contemporaries. One way he decided to impress the world was by exhibiting German cars in international motorsports. Almost immediately, he provided a big subsidy to Daimler-Benz to get involved in Grand Prix races. No other car company of that era would spend as much time and money building cars as fast as Daimler-Benz did, and that fact became evident on the racetrack. From 1934 to 1939, Mercedes dominated Grand Prix races, driving as fast as 200 miles per hour with their W25 and W125 models. However, they were also challenged by a new rival, Auto Union, another German automaker sponsored by their own country. Auto Union would also go on to have its fair share of success during the same period, winning 25 races from 1935 to 1937. These successes put Germany on top of the world with motorsports events, especially Mercedes-Benz, which even became Hitler's preferred car brand. In fact, one of the automobiles he was frequently seen in was the Mercedes-Benz 770, a large luxury vehicle mainly used by high-ranking Nazi politicians and other Axis officials. However, with the outbreak of the Second World War in 1939, the Daimler-Benz company would soon find themselves in serious jeopardy. As the demand for civilian passenger cars became scarce, they began manufacturing military vehicles, submarines, for the Nazi military. Their biggest line of business were military trucks capable of transporting 3 to 6.5 tons of supplies. By 1942, they stopped producing public cars altogether, as all their resources were directed toward the war effort. And as the war escalated, new staff were needed to handle the increased armament production. Since the entire workforce were now fighting on the front lines, Daimler-Benz started recruiting women in order to keep up with their required unit volumes. However, this still wasn't enough to meet the demand, so the company resorted to using forced labor. These prisoners of war, abducted civilians and detainees from concentration camps, were housed close to the plants and forced to work long hours under immense pressure from the Germans. Most of these workers were from Eastern Europe, who were interned in barrack camps with poor, prison-like environments, while concentration camp detainees were monitored by the SS under inhumane living conditions. Many people died in these camps, either from severe malnutrition, mistreatment, or even torture, and by 1944, almost half of all Daimler-Benz 63,000 employees were forced laborers. When the war ended in 1945, the company took a big hit. Because of the Potsdam Agreement, all German assets abroad were confiscated and used for payment of reparations. This led to Daimler-Benz losing all of its foreign subsidiaries, affiliates, and branches, and they were stripped back to their own plants in their home country. In other words, they had to start all over and build themselves back up again. Daimler-Benz was then restructured and had to denazify their top management. Because of these drastic changes, the company was able to obtain a production permit from the American Occupation Authorities in 1946. Although their factory suffered severe bomb damage, Mercedes-Benz still had the advantage of owning its own plant, as many other competitors, such as BMW or Adler, lost their sites when they ended up in Soviet territory. The Mercedes-Benz company then focused their efforts on producing ambulances, police patrol vehicles, and delivery vans based around their 170V models, and used one of their plants as a repair facility for U.S. military transports. By 1947, they were back to producing passenger vehicles, with only 1,045 of their 170V models being produced that entire year. But even under these less than ideal conditions, Daimler-Benz still managed to turn a profit just 1 year later. By the 1950s, Mercedes-Benz was able to regain much of its influence, making a strong comeback in motorsports events as well as achieving successful sales worldwide. So much so that by 1954, the company had already profited over $1 billion. Over the years, Mercedes has completely shifted their image and has become one of the most valuable car brands in the world. However, none of that would have been possible without Carl Benz, who, in spite of his humble background, challenges, and critics, had the courage and determination to turn his dream into a reality. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video.